My second favorite is the Martyrdom of St. Peter, which is by the great artist Masaccio, Renaissance artist. This painting from around 1425. It's a painted wood panel illustrating the legend that Peter was crucified upside down, and has, well, brilliant use of red, blue, yellow, and orange color. It's an amazing painting. The other half of the panel depicts the beheading of John the Baptist, and Masaccio's painting links these two saints together. Now, in 1939, the burial of Pope Pius XI begins an archaeological investigation of the area beneath St. Peter's Basilica's high altar. There's a series of alterations to the crypt called the Sacred Grotto. This begins a bunch of extraordinary ancient tombs are found when they're digging. This reveals a then unknown cemetery that was in use since the beginning of the Christian era. The Sacred Grotto turns out to be part of the edifice containing the tomb of St. Peter, a canopy-like structure called a tropaion, which was built into the walls around 150 A.D. This, of course, marks the place of St. Peter's burial. The walls around this area are covered in Latin graffiti, with many references to St. Peter. There's lots of scratched prayers and symbols throughout the area. These wall writings also link together the names of St. Peter and St. Paul, showcasing the popular devotion to these great saints, starting very early in the Christian era. Paintings from later dates commonly depict St. Peter as a short and stocky, powerful and energetic man with curly hair and a beard. Well, on August 22nd, 1949, the bones of a first-century man with a powerful build that are wrapped in cloth of imperial purple that are embroidered in gold thread are found in a grave beneath St. Peter's Basilica. The bones are those of a short and very powerfully built man in his late 60s. In fact, two sets of bones are actually found during this period. One are a mixture of farm animals and three human beings, two men and a woman. Then the bones, a second set, which turn out to be St. Peter, are found in a different spot that's still within the ground of St. Peter's grave. Now, it takes the Vatican almost 40 years to officially identify the skeletal remains, the remains of the short, stocky man in his late 60s, as those of St. Peter. The announcement was made by Pope Paul VI on June 26, 1968. And most archaeologists, historians, and scholars agree that the bones are indeed genuine. Most agree that these are the bones of St. Peter. The bones, of course, were then reburied in their original ancient resting place. The body of St. Peter was probably originally buried with honors, of course, by either the second or third pope. These popes are, of course, shadowy figures, of which not a great deal is known about, except a few pious legends. One or perhaps both of these pontiffs, successors to St. Peter, of course, were probably responsible for the construction of the original burial site. Linus, the second pope, who sits on the papal throne from 66 to 78 AD, is supposed to have been appointed pope, the Bishop of Rome, by both Peter and Paul acting in concert together. According to Gnostic Christian traditions, an important Roman convert named Marcellus takes down the body of St. Paul from the cross and washes him in milk and wine, puts him in a marble coffin full of mastic. Mastic is a type of resin made from myrrh, aloes, and Attica honey. Then Marcellus gives the body over to Pope Linus for burial. This is, of course, all according to legend. We don't know for sure. Within 20 years, the third pope, the third pontiff, Aniceltus, who sits on the papal throne from 79 to 91 AD, raises a memorial shrine over St. Peter's grave, where the tomb in St. Peter's Basilica now stands. Both Pope Linus and Pope Aniceltus died for their faith. They were both martyrs for their faith, martyrs for Christ, just like St. Peter. Now, the exact meaning of Jesus' words to St. Peter in Matthew 16, verses 17